Hello, friends. Welcome to Wreck to Redeemed, where we confront the complex realities of racism and faith. I'm your girl, Kavana, and today we are talking about the Botham Jean versus Amber Guyger case, part 2. If you missed part 1, be sure to check that out on my channel. Where we are discussing how forgiveness has been exploited, how Black forgiveness has been exploited. And I go over my first element of forgiveness that I feel has been neglected in this conversation. And by conversation, I mean mainly white people, especially white believers, believing that Botham Jean's brother is the perfect example of how Black people ought to automatically respond to injustices against our people. And so yeah, if you're interested, please check that out. I greatly appreciate it. And so today we're going to go over element 2, which is, I believe that it needs to be understood that forgiveness is sacrificial. And even in the first video, I talked about forgiveness in the frame of the gospel of Christ. And today I'm going to do the same thing. When Christ came, he came because God was saying, like, I'm mad with these people. I am mad at my creation right now. They're disobedient. They have wicked ways. They have sin. And my wrath is just brewing up against them. And I want to alleviate myself of this anger that I am harboring against my creation. And so I will send my son, someone who I hold dearly to my heart, to the people of the earth so that he can be the sacrifice for them, to free them and myself of my wrath against them. And in that action of the crucifixion, God wanted to, I believe, show that he wanted to show all elements of himself in that action. Not only that he was a just God, that he was a righteous God, a holy God, but also a God of love, a God of okay, by the way, I'm going to be looking down every now and then because I'm doing one take, y'all. Okay. So please don't penalize a sister for looking at the notes. Okay? Roll with a sister. Chill out here. Stay a while. Thank you. Thank you. So, so I believe that he wanted to show that he was a God who was rich in mercy and loving and gives us strength and grace in spite of our sin. He has alleviated himself of his wrath against us in spite of our sin. And so I believe that in the context of this this discussion about Botham's brother, his expression of forgiveness towards Amber Guyger, I of course I don't know all that went on in this brother's mind, but if I were him in his shoes, because he is also a follower of Jesus Christ, I could only imagine it went something like this. That probably thinking like, Lord, what this woman just did to me and my family was heinous. God, it was evil. It was wicked. And even in the midst of my pain, yet I will sacrifice. I will sacrifice my anger and my pain, my utterly broken heart that my brother has been taking away from me, that my mother and father's son has been taken away from them senselessly. Lord, I am going to place all of the shattered bits of my heart on your altar, God, so that I can be able to look at this woman and embrace her, to bring my forgiveness of her full circle, God, in order to honor you, in order to please you, Father, because as believers, as followers of Christ, Christ says that we ought to forgive because he forgave us. And that is the truth. But there is a true, in order to fully forgive, you have to place all of that anger, that wrath that you have in the midst of your pain, because of the offense that has been placed on you, your family, in this case, his brother as well, being the victim, to be able to say, I am going to free myself of this wrath I am experiencing in order to love you, in order to alleviate myself from you. Maybe not, okay, depending on what the situation is, we're talking in the midst of this context, but in order for me to be alleviated, I must lay this on your altar, God, that it will be sacrificed unto you so that I can fulfill what you have called for me to do. And in order for there to be forgiveness in his heart. And I feel like what really hurts my heart in the discussions and the comments that I saw about this issue online is that, like I mentioned earlier, they were calling for Botham's brothers, his forgiveness to be the poster example, but yet without realizing it, they were okay. I'm just gonna get my thing and read it because I'm like blanking right now. Okay. They're unknowingly diminishing and exploiting that very human and very spiritual moment to fit their narrative. And for me, I feel like that narrative is that you just need to forgive them, sit down and shut up. Their narrative is, just like, just let it go. Okay, it happened for, and for, it, for a lot of people, they don't realize that that is minimizing our pain, that was minimizing our hurt as a community, minimizing his hurt in that moment. It was minimizing the hurt of of his entire family, of the Black community. It minimizes that over and over again. We have to recognize that Amber Guyger was a, a police officer. She is a woman who was trained to de-escalate, supposed to be trained. I think actually news report said that a month earlier or so, she went through a de-escalation exercise or something like that. And she is a trained professional. She's not a civilian just with a gun who walked into the wrong house. I was like, oh, you here, boom. I mean, she is an officer. She is supposed to identify herself. She is supposed to say, hey, put your hands up, or whatever it is. But what she said on that witness stand was, her intent was to kill. Her intent when she entered into that apartment and noticed that someone was there was to kill. And that is not the order of which a police officer is supposed to approach a situation. And it, I feel like a lot of times when police officers are the the suspects or the people who have killed someone, who had killed a person of color, we don't hold them to the same standard. We don't hold them to that standard, that they ought to have done better. They ought to have known better. They ought to not have abused their power. And, you know, I I was I was so disturbed by the fact that when I saw interviews from two jurors, it was one white guy and one Black woman, and the fact that Amber Guyger's Amber Guyger's white woman tears overshadowed all of that. It overshadowed the fact that a man's life was taken. It overshadowed the fact that she is, again, a trained professional that should have done better, that should have done differently. Instead, it was, I heard the Black woman say, unfortunately, that she said, if Botham Jean, like, let's say he didn't die and Botham Jean just got shot, I know that he he's a forgiving person, so he wouldn't have wanted for her to go to jail. So I just feel like, she seemed very sorry. And I felt like, I felt like 10 years was enough. Like it wasn't intended. And I just think that was good enough. And then the white guy was like, yeah, and when we saw Botham's brother embrace her and say how he forgave her, we knew we did the right thing. And it's like, really? Really? You did the right thing here? I'll give Amber Guyger this. People were saying, a lot of people were categorizing what happened at that apartment an accident. I'll give her this. Did she intend to walk into someone else's apartment, someone other than her own apartment, while they are minding their business, eating ice cream on the couch? Did she mean to walk into that environment and kill someone? No, she did not. But that is what she did. And what she did do is, after she killed him, or after she shot him and she called for backup, she did not give him any assistance. She did not administer CPR. When the officers got there, for 7 minutes, they tried CPR and then they stopped. 5 minutes later, the ambulance showed up. They were not offering this man consistent assistance. They left him there, lying in a pool of blood on the floor. Not to mention the fact that there was body cam footage missing. Or I know for a fact car footage was missing. Text messages deleted. This was a case where there was so much corruption, and yet her white woman, I'll say it, white woman tears overshadowed all of that. Her professional, the standard at which she should have been held because of her profession, was diminished because she was crying, and because of the forgiveness that was shown by the brother, and because of the Christian life of the man who died. And I think that was the most heinous and disgusting ruling that I have heard recently. I thought that was absolutely unacceptable. And I want to read the statement that Botham Jean's mother made. And I think it's important, in case you have not heard it, to hear it. She said, I don't want the community to be mistaken by what happened in the courtroom. Forgiveness for us as Christians is healing for us. But as my husband said, there are consequences. It does not mean that everything else we have suffered has to go unnoticed. What you saw and what you heard in the courtroom really showed what your system is, and you must seek to do something about it. You saw a contaminated crime scene. You saw deletion of evidence by persons in high offices. You saw the turning off of body cameras and cameras in vehicles. You saw investigations that were marred with corruption. And throughout the trial, what I kept saying to myself is, Botham was a child of God, and we know that he did not deserve what he got. The most hurtful part is, for me, that even after he was shot, he was left to die. While we walk as Christians, we still have a responsibility to show that our city does what's right. And I encourage you, if you are a believer who has seen this case and has had the position that I have been describing in these two videos about just thinking that this is just how Black people ought to respond, I encourage you to hold people in higher offices accountable, holding the people who are responsible for senselessly killing other human beings accountable. and not using forgiveness as a scapegoat or for a reason to overlook sin. It is unacceptable. This is the reason why, like, unfortunately, even in the church, we cover up so many other sins, whether it be sexual assault or anything of the like. We just say, oh, we should just forgive, or theft, or whatever it may be. Oh, just forgive. No. If someone wrongs someone else, there should be consequences. And we should not be put down for seeking that the right is the wrong is righted. Righted? Is that even a word? Don't quote me. Don't quote me on that. Anyway, but I encourage you to look within yourself and ask the Lord to help you to understand what about forgiveness you are not understanding. And ask the Holy Spirit to guide you in that. Because this idea of just sitting back and watching constant killings take place in our country and feeling nothing about it, I feel like it is absolutely unchristlike. I feel like every comment that was directed towards Black people, or even towards the mother got a lot of bombardment about whether or not she forgave the person. Man, let's hold people accountable. Let's do better. Because our God, again, is a righteous God. Our God is a just God. And our God has called us to do justice and righteousness in the earth. And if we can call out sin and everybody else's life, like, I think that we can call a spade and say, yeah, what she did was murder. And her sentencing should match that of murder. And not be less than nonviolent crime sentencing. I'm just saying. So that's all I have for you all today. Please be on the lookout for the next video where we're going to be talking about the Tatiana Jefferson situation, that horrible situation. So thank you all for sticking around and talking with me. Let me know in the comment section what you thought about this, these points I brought up. I really look forward to hearing your thoughts. I had a lot of discussion on the other video, so I look forward to hearing your thoughts, okay? Until next time, y'all, seek to love your God and your neighbor better, all right? Peace out, y'all.